Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Krishnaya Vasudevaya. Devaki Nandanaya cha Nanda Gopa Kumaraya Govindaya Namo Namaha. So Hare Krishna, this evening we are reading from Bhagavad-Gita as it is, chapter 2, contents of Gita summarized, verse number 50. Buddhi-yukto jahātīha. Buddhi-yukto jahātīha. Ubhe sukṛta-duṣkṛte. Ubhe sukṛta-duṣkṛte. Tasmād yogāya yujyasva. Tasmād yogāya yujyasva. Yogaḥ karmasu kauśalam. Yogaḥ karmasu kauśalam. Buddhi-yukto jahātīha. Ubhe sukṛta-duṣkṛte. Tasmād yogāya yujyasva. Yogaḥ karmasu kauśalam. Bolo. Buddhi-yukto jahātīha. Buddhi sukṛta-duṣkṛte. Tasmād yogāya yujyasva. Yogaḥ karmasu kauśalam. Buddhi-yukto jahātīha. Ubhe sukṛta-duṣkṛte. Tasmād yogāya yujyasva. Yogaḥ karmasu kauśalam. Buddhi-yukto jahātīha. Ubhe sukṛta-duṣkṛte. Tasmād yogāya yujyasva. Yogaḥ karmasu kauśalam. Mataji. Buddhi-yukto jahātīha. Ubhe sukṛta-duṣkṛte. Tasmād yogāya yujyasva. Yogaḥ karmasu kauśalam. Buddhi-yuktaḥ, one who is engaged in devotional service. Jahāti, can get rid of. Iha, in this life. Ubhe, both. Sukṛta-duṣkṛte, good and bad results. Tasmāt, therefore. Yogāya, for the sake of devotional service. Yujyasva, be so engaged. Yogaḥ, Krishna consciousness. Karmasu, in all activities. Kauśalam, art. Translation purport by His Divine Grace Srila A.C. Bhakti-Vedanta Purport ki. A man engaged in devotional service rids himself of both good and bad reactions, even in this life. Therefore, strive for yoga, which is the art of all work. Purport. Since time immemorial, each living entity has accumulated the various reactions of his good and bad work. As such, he is continuously ignorant of his real constitutional position. Once ignorance can be removed by the instruction of Bhagavad-Gītā, which teaches one to surrender unto Lord Śrī Kṛṣṇa in all respects and become liberated from the chained victimization of action and reaction. Birth after birth, Arjuna is therefore advised to act in Krishna consciousness, the purifying process of resultant actions. Om Ajnānatimirandasya Jnānāñjana Shalakaya Chakshurunmitam Mena Tasmai Śrī Gurave Namaha. Sri Chaitanya Manobhistam Sthapitam Mena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamayyam Dadati Swapadantikam Vandeham Sri Guru Sri Yuta Padakamalam Iguru Vaishnavam Cha Sri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahagana Raghunathanvitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadutam Parijana Saitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Sri Radha Krishna Padan Sahagana Lalita Sri Vishakhanvitam Cha Jai Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Sri Advaita Gadadhara Sivasadi Gaur Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. So in today's verse, so we'll go through again. So Krishna explains, a man engaged in devotional service rids himself of both good and bad reactions even in this life. Therefore, strive for yoga, which is the art of all work. So this is a very important verse. So in material world we see there are so many arts taught by different kinds of people. There are so many experts in today's world, and they are teaching art of living, art of dying, so many things they are teaching in the name of art. So today's verse, what we see, Krishna is explaining the art of working in Krishna consciousness. So the verse in the end mentions kauśalam is expert. So in material world, you will see in today's world, you will find experts in all fields of life, from medical to engineering to everything you will find, there are experts. Okay. So what Prabhupada explains, so there are people who are not expert in this field, they can't do anything good. Like Prabhupada gives one example, if some car breaks down, a common person, if the owner, if he opens everything, he will not get to know what is happening. But when the expert, the person who is a mechanic, when he comes, so immediately he can fix up the car. So similarly, in material world, in today's verse, what Krishna explains, so work, there are two kinds of work, karma and vikarma. The other work, good karma and bad karma. So the third is akarma, that which we do for Krishna, for the pleasure of Krishna. So Krishna explains in Bhagavad-Gītā, Yat Karoshi, there are a good number of verses wherein Krishna explains, yes, do everything for me. So now here, today's verse, basically Krishna explains that how one can get rid of all good and bad reactions. So as long as we are in the material world, so we are bound to work. So Krishna explains in Bhagavad-Gītā, 3rd chapter, no one can live without doing something. Now we are breathing, so in a day, how many times we are opening or closing our eyes? So there are countless activities we are doing with the body, with the mind, with the senses. So if we put one machine which records our all things, we can't imagine how much the paper will be wasted. No. So it is mentioned that we get on an average 50,000 thoughts in a day. 50,000. A person living in a city, so he has, from the time he gets up until the time he goes to bed, around 50,000 thoughts come to his mind. 50,000, but all the thoughts, they don't get materialized. Materialized means or all our wishes doesn't get fulfilled. So now today, because Krishna is explaining the art of working in Krishna consciousness, and if one works in Krishna consciousness, good karma and bad karma can be nullified. So Prabhupada explains, so in Krishna consciousness there are so many activities like from morning, the time you get up. Actually, Prabhupada writes someplace that the Krishna conscious devotees, they get up early morning. Like Vrindavan, what we see, like some devotees, they get up 2:30 early morning and they go to bed late night. Whereas in material world, a person at the most, he may work for 8 hours at the most. But a devotee, more or less, is always engaged in doing something. The tasmād sarveshu kāleshu, Krishna explains, mam anusmara yujyasva. Like we should be always engaged 24 hours. Prabhupada explains that the devotees, they should have a 24 hours engagement. So like sometimes we are playing mridang, we are doing kirtan, cooking, deity worship, chanting, so many things. If we want to do, there are countless activities in Krishna consciousness. Only thing, we have to have that taste for doing that work. Okay. So now in this verse, Krishna is basically, this verse will make into 3 parts. First part, Krishna explains an intelligent person. Buddhi-yoga means actually Krishna consciousness. Also Krishna has mentioned this buddhi-yoga several times, like 10.10 Krishna explains. Anyone knows what is the verse 10.10? Tesham sukṛta-duṣkṛtanam bhajatam priti purvakam dadami buddhi-yogam. Like today, material world, we have this Google and so many things. If you are driving from Delhi all the way to Vrindavan, so if you put on your GPS system, there is one GPS system, so it will tell you exactly how much is the distance, what is the traffic, how much time it will take, where you have to take left, right. Okay. So similarly, the Lord is seated in our heart, and the Lord will guide us from time to time. If we agree, like when you take a SIM card from a company or any gadget you buy, so you are bound by terms and conditions. If seal open, no, they say no guarantee. Okay. Similarly, mobile companies, they are changing so many times. Their whatever they give you assurances, lifetime. One time, some company, they launched a mobile. This will be lifetime. They guaranteed you lifetime, free in call. So many nonsense things. Okay, forget it. So here, Krishna, this verse will try to divide into 3 parts. Then we'll go through Prabhupada Purport. So what Prabhupada explains, that an intelligent person gets free from good and bad karma. Here, Krishna explaining the art of working in Krishna consciousness. So, as I told you, karma is basically divided into 3: karma, akarma and vikarma. Okay, there are so many other karmas. Actually, there are 7 categories in karma. Okay, now here what we see, Krishna explains the first point, that first verse, the first line explains, then an intelligent person gets free from all good and bad karma. Okay, that is first point. Iha means, there is one word called iha. So Prabhupada gives 2 meaning, in this life or in this world, more or less same. So we have one human life, okay? We get one human life. After that, so if we are doing devotional service, well and good. Arjuna also asked, if one deviates from devotional service, Krishna said no problem. He will be born in aristocratic family, or second is that he will be born in the family of devotees. But for a person, a materialistic person, once his human life is lost, then he has to go through a long period of time. So here the word here means in this life or in this world. Then if Krishna explains yoga yujyasva, that we have to connect with Krishna. So here yoga yujyasva means try to attain the supreme, that is Krishna. So there are a good number of verses in Bhagavad-Gītā wherein Krishna explains, yes, Yad gatva na nivartanti tad dhama paramam mama. So, a good number of verses in Bhagavad-Gita, Krishna explains how one can attain the Supreme Lord in his abode. And the kauśalam means what I told, expertise. So also in Krishna consciousness one has to become expert. Like when you learn driving, you are not an expert, you are learning under a supervisor. Okay, one should learn the driving. Now it is very easy for you. Okay, so similarly in Krishna consciousness also, the art of Krishna consciousness, here what Krishna is explaining, how one can get rid of good and bad karma. Of course, what if we are doing devotional service, that is akarma. Everything what we are doing, so that we are doing for the Lord. Like a person who joins a defense forces. So once he joins the defense forces, the country will take care of him till the time he leaves his body, because he has given his complete self for the country, and the country will take care of him. Similarly, if one is surrendered unto Krishna, and so Krishna will guide us from time to time. Like today's world, we are updating our so many apps, isn't it? So similarly, Krishna, dadami buddhi-yoga means Krishna will give us intelligence from time to time. From time to time, like Madhavendra Puri, when he came to Vrindavan. So what we see, Madhavendra Puri, he was such a sannyasi, is called Paramahansa. Paramahansa means they never beg anywhere. They don't do even madhukari. If by the divine ordinance, if the Lord wants to feed them, then only then they will take. So Madhavendra Puri, he was sitting at Govind Kund, and Krishna, he himself came in the disguise of a cowherd boy. So Madhavendra Puri, he took that milk and he drank, he felt it was like nectar. So early morning next day, this cowherd boy, he came in a dream and he revealed. So this way what we see, the Lord came 3 times in his dream, Madhavendra Puri. So similarly, dadami buddhi-yoga means, like here Krishna, he told me, take me out, put me back on Govardhan. I have not taken shower and I am hungry so much, so many activities. So Madhavendra Puri, he for 2 years he was continuously feeding the Lord. Then the Lord told, okay, now the summer is coming, why don't you get me some chandan? Now Chandan Yatra will be there from May 3rd onwards. So here what we see, a devotee, one who is engaged in devotional service, so we should know ultimately that he will become expert. So here basically what Prabhupada explains, that here Prabhupada explains that kauśalam means one has to become expert in Krishna consciousness. So now here if we go through Prabhupada Purport, Prabhupada explains Krishna consciousness is the purifying process of resultant actions. Like in what the epidemics they were telling last 2 years, we are wearing masks, isn't it? Nowadays nobody cares as a protection, okay? But now if we see in material world, those who are not in devotional service, always they are under the cycle of karma and vikarma. In Brahma Samhita, Brahma explains, Yastvindra gopam athavendram ahosva karma bandhanu rupam phalabhajananoti karman nidrahati kintuja bhakti bhajam. So here this verse explains Yastvindra gopam ahosa karma. Indra gopam is a tiny insect. From a tiny insect up to Brahma, everyone is under the laws of karma. As long as we are in material world, the laws of karma will work. Okay. Now here what he explains, everyone, whether an insect or a king of heaven, is entangled and bound by the actions and reactions of his karma. However, when one becomes a pure devotee, free from material desires and from bondage to karma, jnana and yoga, one is freed from material actions and reactions by the causeless mercy of the Lord. So here buddhi-yoga means once we get connected with the Lord, then you are not under the karma. Now we see for Narottam Das Thakur, he has written a good number of nice poems. What he explains, apana karma doshe apani dubinu. This nice Bengali bhajan, Gaura Pahu na bhajiya mainu, prema ratana dhana helai harainu. So what he explains that apana karma doshe apani dubinu. In material world, all the living entities, according to their karma, they are getting the reaction. Like supposing if I am eating, suddenly I bite my tongue with my teeth, that is my mistake. It is not automatically happening because of sometimes the food goes into the nasal. So this way what happens, we suffer for our reactions. So the reactions can be instant, delayed. In karma also there is a instant karma, there is a delayed karma. If we put hand in the electric switch, that is instant karma. If you mishandle the knife, instant karma. So here what he explains that apana karma doshe apani dubin means material world, everyone is getting the reaction for whatever he is doing. That should be the understanding when we come to devotional service. So recently Vaisheshika Prabhu, he was there, he was giving some classes. So what he was explaining, what should I learn from this thing happened today? Supposing some event happened, so what I should learn from this event? So today's material world, people, they change very fast. Sometimes they will promise you and they will not keep the promise intact, whatever it is. So material world, sometimes you have to understand what can I learn from this. Like Brahma, he explains the Lord that yes, tattenu kampa susikshimamana. In material world, whatever actions are, things are happening with us, we should take them as it is a mercy of the Lord. Okay. So now here Prabhupada further explains, Arjuna is told to avoid reaction. He need to renounce work, but work in right consciousness. Here Arjuna is told to renounce work. Work means, like Prabhupada explains, work, karma, good karma, bad karma, both are binding. Okay, if you are doing good karma, you will get reaction. So in material world, like we may have a passbook with both entries, debit and credit. But in in our karma account, there cannot be one passbook. There will be two passbooks, separate passbook. One is good karma and one is bad karma. So there cannot be addition and subtraction. 3 good karma, 5 and a bad karma, minus 2 good karma. It will not happen like that. Okay, that we should understand. So here what we should understand, that Arjuna, he need not renounce work, but work in right consciousness. He need not renounce work, but work in right consciousness. That should be understanding. So in Bhagavad-Gītā 3.9, Krishna explains that how one has to work. Yajñāt karmano netra lokoyam karma bandhana tadhartha karma kaunteya mukta sanga samachara. Now the right process of working here, Krishna explains, work done as a sacrifice for Lord Vishnu has to be performed. Otherwise, work causes bondage in this material world. Therefore, O son of Kunti, perform your prescribed duties for his satisfaction. In this way, you will be always remain free from bondage. So, Krishna explains, Chatur Varnam Maya Srishtam Guna Karma Vibhagasha. So, material world also, the living entities, especially human beings, they are divided into 4 categories: Brahmana, Kshatriya, Vaishya and Shudra. And also in the 18th chapter, Krishna explains what are their duties. Okay, so here, like if you are working for a company and if you are not doing the work for the company, then the company will it will sack you, kick out. So in the Bhagavatam also, what we see, there was a person by name Vishwarupa. He was doing yajna for the demigods, but indirectly he was also giving oblations to the demons. So when Indra came to know, he chopped off his head. then later on there is a big story of Vritrasura. So similarly we should know that in material world everyone is bound to work according to yajnat karmana netru lokoyam karma bandhana. Like I was in defense navy, so they read the regulations of navy. Every person who is working under the navy, if found guilty 1, 2, 3, found guilty sleeping, so many there are these things, so shall be liable for punishment, then they will mention. So similarly material world, we should know as long as we are in the material world, we will be always bound by action and reaction. Actions and reactions always will be bound by that. So as a precaution, what Prabhupada here writes in the purport, that therefore one has to, this is Bhagavad-Gītā 3.9, what Prabhupada explains, therefore one has to work for the satisfaction of Vishnu. Any other work done in this material world will be a cause of bondage. For both good and evil work have their reactions, and any reaction binds the performer. Therefore one has to work in Krishna consciousness to satisfy Krishna or Vishnu, and while performing such activities one has to be in a liberated stage. So Prabhupada here writes, this is the art of doing work. So Prabhupada already he has mentioned, this is the art of doing work, and in the beginning this process requires expert guidance. So that's why Krishna he told tasmād gurum prapadyante, tadvidhi pranipatena pariprasthena sevya ubdekshanti jnaninas tattva darshana. Even Rupa Goswami writes in Updeshamrit, Adav Guru Ashraya. Therefore one has to take a shelter of a bona fide spiritual master. So we should know material world, at least in the human form of life, one needs a spiritual master. So further Prabhupada writes, since time immemorial, the living entity has accumulated various reactions of good and bad work. So there is one nice bhajan by Bhaktivinoda Thakur, Anadi karama phale padi bhavarnava jale tari bhare na dekhini upay. Anadi karma phale means, anadi means endless. Punarapi jananam punarapi maranam janani jatre shayanam. So also in Chaitanya Charitamrita there is a nice verse, Krishna bhuli jeev anadi bhairmukh atha eva maya de sansar dukh. Anadi means, Bahirmukh means facing outside, Antarmukh means facing the Lord. So here what we see, that what Prabhupada explains, that since time immemorial, now amongst us, okay, we are doing devotional service, but I should not ask this question, but is there anyone who can say when did he came off from the spiritual world to this material world? That we can't guess, we don't know exactly. Maybe some scripture we can know, this Gop Kumar and other things like Naraza. There are pastimes of Narad, how he was cursed to become a maid servant and all. Previously he was Gandharva, like that. Certain things we can understand, but in this material world there are innumerable living entities, very difficult. But the Lord has the complete account, only the Lord can tell us exactly. So here Prabhupada explains, thus he is continuously ignorant of his real constitutional position. What is real constitutional position? Muktir hitva anyata rupam swarupena vyavasthiti. So we have forgotten our real position, real constitutional position. So material world, what we see, our real constitutional position is Jiva Swarup Hoye Krishna Nitya Das. But now in material world, what everyone is trying to become, boss, bossanu boss. What we say, das, dasanu das. But material world, what we see, everyone wants to become boss, bossanu boss. So you want a nice chair, even that chair should be foam, it should be rotating like that, isn't it? A hydraulic chair, up and down, okay, whatever it is. So every material, because of trying to boss over the material world, this material world is basically made for the conditioned soul who want to play their own game. Like children, now Oftentimes we see children, small children, they want to cook, they disturb the mother. And sometimes children, they want to drive. So now there are so many varieties of toys for cooking. Toy cars are there. Why? Because this conditioned soul, what Prabhupada writes, thus he is continuously ignorant of his real constitutional position. So this is our problem in the material world. We have forgotten what is our duty. Like when you join a company, so you are told these are your duties. These are your duties from the time you get into the office till the time you go out. Okay. So, okay. Now here, how that can be understood? Jiver Swarup Hoye Krishna Nityadas. So Bhaktivinoda Thakur has written one nice bhajan, Bengali bhajan. Jiva Krishna Das Yehi Vishwas. Jiva Krishna Das Yehi Vishwas. Karla Tar Ar Dukh Nai. So when you go in the material world, you see a very nice car, but you know this is not your car, isn't it? You are not going to fiddle with the car because you know. Similarly, here we should know Jiva Krishna Das E Vishwas. Yes, I am not a servant of anyone, but servant of Krishna. Karla Yehi Vishwas Aratar Dukh Nahi. So once you come to know, like there are so many airlines, they don't offer you anything except a seat, maybe the water. Previously they used to give a water bottle of 250 ml. Nowadays they give in a glass water. They have become so conjuice. Recently I flew 1 year back. So I saw now they have gone so down. Previously they used to give some chocolate. In the olden time there were sections, different sections, smoker, veg, non-veg, whatever it is. Gradually everything is declining. Forget it. So Bhaktivinoda Thakur explains that once you come to know, yes, I am servant of Lord Krishna, then I'll never be, once you come to the material world, yes, these are the rules and you are bound by these rules and regulation. Like a cow, when it is tied with a rope to a pole, so the cow will go only within one certain radius, how much it is tied. So we also should know that we have our certain limitations. Material world, everyone should know that yes, I am bound by certain limitations. I can't go beyond this limitation. So also in big offices, everyone has, that spending some limit. If you are at this position, different grades, so you have different amount of money you can spend. So what Prabhupada writes later in Purport, how to remove this ignorance. So Prabhupada writes, by instructions of Bhagavad-Gītā, which teaches one, what Bhagavad-Gītā teaches, 1866, anyone knows? Yes. Surrender unto Lord Krishna in all respects. So in Western country, like a person, a robber or a murderer, when the police, they show him the gun, what he does? Raise his hands. Then they tie him in the back with handcuff. So similarly, surrender, what Prabhupada writes, by instructions of Bhagavad-Gītā, which teaches one to surrender unto Lord Krishna in all respects. Not that there are preconditions. In material world, people have so many preconditions. But here, what Prabhupada writes, that in all respects. So once we come to know, yes, there is no other way out. So then what happens? Then we understand, yes, this is what I am supposed to do. So what Bhagavad-Gītā 9.27 Krishna explains, yad karoshi yad asnasi yad jivosi dadasi yad tapasyasi kaunteya tad karushva mad arpanam. So more or less there are so many verses wherein we find Krishna is telling to do everything for his pleasure. Let it be anything. And further what we see, what Prabhupada writes, that then one becomes liberated from the chain of actions and reaction, and thus the bondage of birth and death. One gets freed from the chain of actions and reactions and one gets free. Also Kapil Dev explains in the Srimad Bhagavatam, karmana daivi netrena jantur deho upapadyate striya pravishtita udaram pumso retasa kanashraya. So how a living entity under the supervision of the Supreme Lord and according to the results of his work, the living entity, the soul, is made to enter into the womb of a woman through the particle of male semen to assume a particular type of body. See, material nature, in whatever consciousness we are living, what Prabhupada writes, these 84 lakh species, they are made according to our consciousness. So if you go to some very in a big hotel, 5-star, 7-star hotel, so you will find all varieties of menu food. So once you order the menu, that order will come. Okay, so any kind of stuff you want to eat, first you have to order. So material world also, what consciousness we make, what Prabhupada gives example, if one is eating throughout the day, then he may become a pig. If one is eating flesh, then he may become a tiger, carnivorous animal. And if one is sleeping too much, Prabhupada writes one should not sleep more than 6 hours, especially adults. Then he may become a bear, polar bear. They hibernate. Okay. So then fourth he explains, if people they want to put scanty, very less clothes and all, then the material nature will say, okay, you be naked 24 hours, become a tree, like that. So Shankaracharya also in his verse, what he explains, that punarapi jananam, punarapi maranam, that janani jatre shayanam, yah sansare bahu dustare, kripaya pahi murare. What he explains, birth again, death again, birth again, for another stay in a mother's womb. It is indeed hard to cross this boundless ocean of samsara. O Murari, kindly save me by showering your mercy upon me. Shankaracharya, he explains. So in brief, like today, we will conclude what Krishna explains, that yes, there is one verse 5.10, Brahmane adaya karmani sangam tektva karutiha lipete na papena padma patram yuambasa. Very nice verse. What Krishna explains, one who performs his duty without attachment, surrendering the results unto the Supreme, is unaffected by sinful action, as the lotus leaf is untouched by water. Now we see here only the example of lotus leaf is given. You put the lotus leaf in the water, it will never get wet. Also the lotus flower, although it is born in the water, lotus, it takes birth from the lotus, from the water. But what we see, daytime there is a scorching heat. So it is tolerating the complete sunlight, and also a nice fragrance comes from the lotus. A good number of bees come for the honey. So similarly in the material world, if one is properly engaged in Krishna consciousness, so wherever he goes, Narayana para sarve na kutaschana bibbati swarga apavarge sarvatra samasulya darshana. So Lord Shiva tells Parvati that a devotee of the Supreme Lord, let him be in any situation of life. So today it is very difficult to tolerate people living around us. Recently one devotee was telling that in Pune temple, one devotee who was snoring very much. All of you know how much it disturbs your sleep. So one brahmachari, he is very much senior, but he got last about 3-4 days he was tolerating. But one day in the middle of the night he became so much carried away and he banged on that devotee's window. But unfortunately that window glass, so all his complete hand, got cut off. So very difficult. Material world today, the tolerance power is going down day by day, people's tolerance power. So what we see, the lotus throughout the day, there are different kinds of lotus. Some they come out when the sun, with the sunrise, then with sunset they close down. There are certain lilies, they rise with the moonrise, like that. So Prabhupada quotes Padma Puran, one verse in this. Prabhupada explains, aprarabdam phalam papam kutam bijan phalonmukam krameneva praliyate vishnu bhakti ratatmanam. what it is mentioned that for those who are engaged in the devotional service of Supreme Personality of Godhead, all sinful reactions, whether fructified in stalk or in the form of seed, gradually vanish. Therefore, the purifying potency of devotional service is very strong, and it is called Pavitram Uttamam. Now we will not go much deep into this verse. So the karmas, they are in different stages. So also Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu explained, Rup Goswami explains who is a free person, who is a liberated person. Now here, because today's verse more or less, this verse explains about a person completely freed from material reaction. Iha yasya harer dasya karmana manasa gira niklashva api avastasu jivan sa uchyate. Jivan mukta sa uchyate means a person acting in Krishna consciousness, in other words, in the service of Krishna, his body, mind, intelligence and words, is liberated person even within material world, although he may be engaged in so many called material activities. So also Narad Muni, he tells Vasudev, there is nice verse in the 1.5.19. So there he explains Tassaiva heto prayetada kovido. What he explains, na labhyate na brahmanam ubhe adhare. There he explains persons who are actually intelligent and philosophically inclined should endeavor only for that purposeful end which is not obtainable even by wandering from the topmost planet Brahmaloka down to the lowest planet Patala. So as far as happiness is derived from sense enjoyment is concerned, it can be obtained automatically in course of time, just as in course of time we obtain miseries even though we don't desire them. So here we should know, yes, that this in this human form of life, Prabhupada oftentimes he used to tell a good number of intellectual people. So one time Prabhupada in Russia, he asked one big scientist, what is there after this life? What he said, there is no life after this life. He was that time he was completely ignorant and an atheist. What he said, there is nothing after this life. This is the only life. So such kind of people are there. So Prabhupada also gives one nice example. Prabhupada explains, just like a bank cashier, is a nice example. He is sitting on the cash counter and millions of dollars are coming to him, but he is not in connection with it. Atma Shuddhe, because yoga-yukta, he knows that I am different from this money. He is alright. So by Krishna consciousness, one who is yogi, yoga karma kauśalam, what Prabhupada explains, that Atma Shuddhi, that they work for Atma Shuddhi, purifying the soul. And Prabhupada gives another nice example. So he explains, just like we are working here, this is also work. We are reading, we are singing, we also work, a sort of work. The same thing can be done in a club, in a musical club, but here the music is for Atma Shuddhi, for purifying the soul. We are also eating, but we are purifying the soul. So no work is different from ordinary man. And the members of the society, they are also doing the same work. They are also going to store, purchasing things and preparing foodstuff, offering to Krishna and eating. So it appears that they are also eating, they are also sleeping, they are also working. But here everything is for Atma Shuddhi. That is, it is under such a regulation that one is becoming purer and purer. Again Prabhupada writes, and purer and purer. 4 times he is writing this. So we have 5 minutes left. We will just go to the commentaries of our Acharyas. So Sridhar Swami explains, but one who is engaged in actions performed in spiritual intelligence is superior. Very nicely explains. By the grace of the Supreme Lord, one is acting in this way is relieved of both good and bad actions, which lead to heaven, or evil actions which lead to hell, even in this very life. Therefore, verily, one should always engage oneself in the sacred science of one's individual consciousness, attaining communion with the ultimate consciousness by consecrating in righteousness in all activities unto the Supreme Lord. For this, this is known as karma yoga, because this sacred science is the actual skill in performing all activities, is the formula for righteous actions, which turns every ordinary activities that normally lead to bondage into the means of liberation by offering them in righteousness unto the Supreme Lord Krishna. This is a Sridhar Swami. So Bhaktivinoda Thakur, he explains, we have Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur. So Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur, he explains that therefore be engaged in yoga as described here. Yoga se yujyasva. Among all actions done or without desire, karmasu, action performed with indifference to result, yogaḥ, is a skill, kauśalam. So whatever activities we are doing for Krishna, it is a expert kauśalam, he explains. Then Baldev Vidyabhushan, he explains, therefore be engaged as described here. So he explains, amongst all actions done with or without desire, actions performed with indifference to result, that is such a person is a skillful person. So this way, what we see, our acharyas also, they are explaining how that actions what we are performing only for the pleasure of Krishna, so they will not bind us in this material world. So we'll conclude here. So somebody has any question or query so regarding today's verse. So in brief, so today's verse Krishna explained that how one can get freed from good karma and bad karma. Also Prabhupada explains iha, in this life or in this material world, and kauśalam means, Prabhupada explains, expert. So Krishna explains the art of working in Krishna consciousness. So today's verse, basically Krishna has explained how one can work in Krishna consciousness. So material world people, they are also teaching different varieties of art. So today's world, there are so many different arts are famous, art of living, but they should know also there has to be art of dying, because we have to leave one day this material world. So here, once we learn the art of working in Krishna consciousness, the other arts we'll learn, from the art of living to art of dying. Everything will come on its own. So Hare Krishna. Yes. थोड़ा माइक देना प्रभु जी को.
So whatever activities we are performing in Krishna consciousness, that is related to Krishna consciousness, or it is related to something else.
Whatever activities
we are performing in Krishna consciousness, just like we attend Mangalarti, Guru Puja, class, Bhagavad-Gita class. So all these activities, that is that dharma or is sarva dharma, just like it says.
No. These are we are doing for the pleasure of Krishna, so they don't come under good or bad karma. They are like akarma. Basically, like whatever we are doing for the pleasure of Krishna, from eating, sleeping. I read here in the end, I give the example of Purport.
Right.
So all activities you are doing for Krishna, so there will be no reaction.
So there is no need of sarva dharma parityāga.
Whatever you are doing, if it is done for keeping Krishna, like you are eating prasad, if you are not remembering Krishna, that means you are not offering it to Krishna. So what Prabhupada writes, one should eat only Krishna prasad. Okay? So that way, so many activities we are doing, so we should know, yes, am I doing the right activity? So in all situations of life, the Paramatma will always tell you, this what you are doing is not right. Oftentimes, the Paramatma is telling you, yes, you are off course. So in the ocean, when the ship is heading towards a port, so we have a gyro compass in the ship and we have a steering. That steering is locked in that direction. Even if you deviate 1 degree, you will land 60 miles apart. You will, instead of going to Goa, you will go to some other place. So similarly, in devotional service, so we should know, yes, that yes, I am on this path. Krishna in Bhagavad-Gītā 2.41, Vyavasayatmika buddhir ekeha, zero north. You know what is zero north? Chalo, this in the ship, when you are in the ocean, so there is one true north, one is zero north. True north means the direction you are heading, one is the zero north, it will always remain zero north. Okay, प्रभु जी कुछ बोलना था? हाँ, ओके, हाँ, 1 मिनट, हाँ, ओके, दे दो.
Thank you, Prabhuji, for lecture. Prabhuji, I wanted to ask, we were discussing about Dadami buddhi-yuktam, that Krishna guides us from inside whenever we are progressing on the path of bhakti. So we have understood that we always need spiritual master's blessings while progressing on the path of bhakti. And we all have experienced in our life, we all are sitting there, the degrees could be different, but it is all about their blessings that we are surviving in the path of bhakti. So for that also, do we need a spiritual master's glance?
No. Actually, see, one time, one Maharaj was giving a good example. So your mother will take care of you. How many years? Maybe 5 years. After that, she will not take you on the body, at least. Okay. Sometimes they take. So after certain age, we start walking on our own. We learn walking. So similarly, in spiritual life, after certain years, you should be more mature. You should know what. So in every field, there is no need of that. Yes, the spiritual master should be always. We should have that consciousness. But the spiritual master, there is Vani and Vapu. So we should always. Will get his this thing Vani, but I will not get his association. But we should have that maturity. Yes, so we have that common sense. Whatever we are doing. So if we have very tiring situations, maybe we can ask some senior devotees, or you can, if your Guru Maharaj is open to approach, you can do. If they are tiring, certain times we have tiring situations, not all the while. Yes, Prabhu.
Krishna Prabhu, you just told in the class that for a good karma we have a record, and for the bad karma we have a record. Now suppose one person is having good karma, bad karma, and after that he becomes a devotee. So what happens? Those
the one who takes this verse, I didn't go elaborate. So like when we take devotional service, Krishna explains to Uddhava in the 11th canto that my devotional service is so this thing, purifying. So like wood, when we put wood in the fire, so or we put ghee in the fire burns. So similarly, when we take to devotional service, except our prarabdha karma. Prarabdha karma means this body, it can't be changed. Like once you are airborne, you can't say take the flight back. So you have to go to that destined destination. So except our prarabdha sharir, our all other actions can be changed by the Lord. Yes. Hare Krishna. Say.
The 4th chapter, the Lord says in one of the verses that Yasya sarveka samarambha kamasankalpavarjitaha jnana agni karmanam tammaham panditam buddha.
Correct. Jnana-agni.
Yeah, one is understood to be in full knowledge, whose every endeavor is devoid of desire for self-gratification. He is said by the sages to be a worker for whom the reactions of work have been burned up by the fire of perfect knowledge. So every endeavor is devoid of desire for self-gratification. He said that all this karmasu.
Yeah, this fire of knowledge means that will burn. Thank you. Hare Krishna. Srila Prabhupada ki.